You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day and smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.
From hobby farmers to weekend gardeners and everyone in between, Tractor Supply trusts 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to make shopping more personal. Together, we're connecting over 2,200 stores with 5G business internet and powering AI so team members can match shoppers with products faster.
You're all set.
This is enriching customer experience. This is Tractor Supply with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
It's time to get inside the Giants Huddle.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
On Giants.com.
I like it, I like it.
And the Giants mobile app.
Boom, give me some juice.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's roll.
Welcome to another edition of the Giants Huddle Podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk. Big show coming your way today. We're going to talk to Giants captain and Mike linebacker Bobby Okereke. We're going to have Brian Daboll and Bob Papa. And, of course, Dave Spadaro, who covers the Eagles for that team's official site, friend of the program, getting you ready for the Giants and Eagles. But we're going to lead off with my interview with Bobby Okereke. And now we're joined by Bobby Okereke. Bobby, how are you, man?
Good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm going to ask you a random question.
Yep.
Every time, you're always one of the last guys off the field.
Yep.
Last guys in the locker room. A lot of guys, some people take the locker room time to relax and chill. You're always on the iPad.
Yep.
When you're on the iPad after practice, what are you looking at?
I'm watching practice. I'm seeing how I'm moving. I'm seeing how well I'm reading what the offense is giving me. See how well I'm playing the scheme. Just working on that 1%, getting better.
So you're watching that day's practice. They can turn it around that quick for you.
Yeah, they turn it around. 5 minutes we're in the locker room, it's up. So I'm usually there just doing some self-scout.
Is it mostly the team stuff, or are you watching even your stuff in the individuals before you do team?
Yeah, watch individuals. We got one-on-one with the running backs, watch those routes. Really just from a fundamentals, technique standpoint, footwork, just making sure I'm getting better. And
I'm sure that's what you guys do every Monday after the games, right? When you sat down, watched the tape after the Bengals game, what did you see?
Saw an explosive pass rush. Obviously got to be a little bit more detailed in a coordinated rush. Burrow had a couple scrambles there that hurt us bad. But saw a defense that's resilient, a defense that's forcing turnovers, and a defense that's getting after the opposing offense.
What particularly do you think your defense has improved upon, as I think you overall as a unit has shown improvement every week since week one?
Yeah. First and foremost starts with stopping the run. I think we've done a better job of that this year. Still have room for improvement. But it starts up front. The big guys up front are creating a lot of pressure. Getting after the quarterback, making him get the ball out quick, making him get out of the pocket, getting sacks. So that rush is helping everybody.
You mentioned the sacks. You can have a good pass rush, but not get sacks.
Yep.
Why has your group been able to translate the pressure into sacks as consistently as you've done this year?
We got technicians up front, guys who are really honed in on their craft. Obviously, Dex is a beast among men. Brian Burns, elite pass rusher. Aziz, everybody knows the pass rusher he is. And Kayvon, although he's out, has been an excellent pass rusher for us as well. So those guys are very detailed in their pass rush, very coordinated up front, and it's raising the level of the whole group.
What is it like to see Aziz finally get a chance to be healthy and get that opportunity to play, 70% of the snaps last week? And really, I thought the contrast on tape was jarring. They have those two massive, big offensive tackles.
Yep.
And not that Aziz is a small dude, he's not. But just his speed and quickness operating to me was jarring when you rewatched the game on tape.
Yeah, it was exciting. Aziz is a beast. Like you said, fast, quick, has speed, but he's also very strong. So to see him wreck the game that he did, I think he had, 6 pressures, 2 sacks, 2 QB hits.
And he should have had a 3rd sack.
For sure. So to see him have that quality level of play along with Burns and Dex, it's very exciting.
One thing I want to ask you about in that Bengals game, while rewatching the tape, Joe Burrow wants to get his back foot down and get rid of the ball.
Yep.
I thought there were a number of times in that game, more than most games you'll see Burrow play, where you guys were taking away that first easy look that Burrow wanted to take. You made him hold it, which allowed your pass rush to get home. Was that a product of film study? Is that you guys mastering Bowen's defense? How were you able to take that first read away from Burrow as much as you did in that game?
Yeah, it's both. Film study for sure. Understanding when you're playing an offense, it's players, not plays. It's not specifically what play they're going to run, but it's what individual number and player they're going to on that money down. And then defensively, just making sure we're executing the scheme, everybody's doing their job at a high level. And we got great confidence in our pass rush, so we know if we take that first look away, quarterback's going to have to get it out or scramble.
And I think that's probably a sign of progress from a young secondary too, right? Figuring that out and being able to process what you're being taught during the week and executing it on the field.
For sure. I mean, those guys are doing an excellent job. Starts with Jason Pinnock and Tyler Newman in the back end. Their communication has been excellent. Drew Phillips has been an excellent rookie for us. Tay Banks in his second year playing extremely well. Cordell Flott in his third year playing well. So got a lot of faith in those guys in the back end.
In what areas, and then we'll get to the opponent, do you still think there's room for progress in mastering what Shane is trying to have you guys do every week?
Yeah, just excelling in the details of our job. As we're going through the season, as we're getting plays, I mean, there's only so many times they can run bash, counter OT, or they can run 4 strong overs with a cross. Like, some of that stuff is going to become second nature, and we'll get faster and, get that pattern recognition down more. It's just trusting the guy next to you, doing your job, and playing hard and fast.
Now, we're recording this before the injury report is out, so we'll see what happens when it comes out. But Dex and Brian Burns were both out from practice on Wednesday and Thursday.
Yep.
We'll see if they can go in the game. If you're without those two guys, or even one of them, how do you try to make up for their losses, especially after losing Kayvon just a week ago?
For sure. Yeah, similarly with Kayvon, we got a next man up mentality. So those guys up front, DJ Davidson had 2 sacks a week before, so he's been a great player for us. Same with Jordan Riley. Those guys up front will play really well with Chapman. And then Burns can't come in. We got faith in the guys we have back end. Timon Fox, Boogie Basham, have a committee of guys, Patrick Johnson coming in. So have a great next man up mentality.
What is it like watching Dexter Lawrence play football every day? I know watching on tape, it's so much fun. I can only imagine what it's like standing behind that monster, watching him just move people wherever he wants.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, he's driving offensive linemen 5 yards back in the backfield, disrupting the run plays, disrupting the pass, allowing the guys like me, Micah, to fly free behind him and make plays. So very happy I'm on his team.
He really dictates to an offense how they have to function in a lot of ways, right?
For sure. The same way we're talking players, not plays, they are too, and they're circling 97 on basically every play. So the attention he gets, opens up lanes for other guys to impact the game.
All right, well, let's talk about the opponent. You mentioned you feel like you're stopping the run better.
Yep.
Well, you're going to have to this week, right?
Yes, sir.
Because this is a tough challenge.
Yep.
Not only Saquon Barkley, but also Jalen Hurts is part of that QB run game.
Yep.
So when you watch how they've run the ball this year, Philly, you look at some of the advanced stats, they're top 5 in running efficiency, EPA, things like that. What is it about their running game, and we'll get to the player in a second, that makes it difficult to defend?
Yeah, they have a really good offensive line. They hang on the doubles, try to drive the defensive lineman off the ball. Saquon Barkley is an explosive runner from the backfield. He's physical. He can run downhill. He's also swift. He can get on the edge and outrun people. And, their quarterback run game is pretty complex. They run some counter. They run some draw aspect of it. So you really got to be on your toes and make sure you're executing the details of your job.
Does your experience practicing against Saquon give you any sort of leg up to slowing him down in a game?
A little bit. I mean, you just know the type of player he is. In a crunch time situation, he wants the ball in his hand. And the type, like, you've played him all the time in practice and training camp. He's a physical runner, but he's fast, he's explosive. So it'll be an exciting challenge for us.
Is this similar to how you have to play Kenneth Walker in a lot of ways, who you had a lot of success against a couple weeks ago, where he can make you miss if you're one-on-one. He can also not necessarily go where the play's designed. He can pop it any direction and kind of take it, and they're both very explosive. For
sure. I'd say Saquon has a little bit more weight on him and has maybe a little bit more dynamicism, if that's a word.
Sure, that's a word.
He's a little more dynamic out of the backfield. When Saquon is moving and grooving, he's as good as they come. So really got to limit him and don't give him much space.
You mentioned the offensive line for Philly. Different group, though. They have some different names in there. They're going to be without Jordan Mailata, who, much like you guys, are going to miss Andrew Thomas. They're going to have just as big of a loss with Mailata out there.
Yep.
What do you see from that offensive line? Obviously, they have a very good coach in Jeff Statland. He kind of has them playing the same way. But how has – and I know Jason Kelsey obviously in the middle. Yep. So how does their offensive line look a little bit different than maybe from what you saw last year? Yeah,
I mean, they're a gritty group. They're a physical group. Their center, Cam Jurgens, got a lot of respect for him. He comes firing off the ball. He's trying to hit people.
He's an athlete too, man. He can move.
He's an athlete. He can move. So got to key in on him. Their guards are good, big and physical. Even their tackles will provide a good challenge for us. So we'll be excited, be ready to stop the run.
The overall structure of their offense, I expected when they brought Kellen Moore in for it to be very different. But when I watch them, I think a lot of the same elements are there with the way Jalen Hurts likes to throw those go balls down the sideline, especially when he's one-on-one. A lot of those over routes with him, the quarterback run game. How much different really is their offense with Kellen Moore this year compared to what they did last season?
Not too much different. It starts with Saquon in the run game. They want to get that going, and they want to build everything off that, build the quarterback run off that, build the RPO, the play action, and they're going to take shots to number 6 and number 11 when they get a chance. So. Explosive offense. Goddard's not in. They have a committee of tight ends who are playing well too. So we'll be excited for the challenge.
How, if at all, is the challenge of 6 and 11 this week, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, compared to what you faced last week in Higgins and Chase? Obviously, both maybe the two best pairs of wide receivers in the league again back-to-back. But how is the challenge different either because of the scheme or because of the skill sets of the wide receivers?
Pretty similar. T. Higgins kind of a go up and get it possession receiver. Jamar Chase, he's going to run routes all over the field. And Devontae Smith, he's a go ball guy. He's going to run overs. He's going to get the ball, and then 11.
He's a freak show, right? AJ?
He's a freak show. They're gonna take shots with him. They're gonna run stops, double moves, all that. So, Bengals a little bit more of a pass first offense. Philly obviously more run first, but Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. He can hurt you with the run game, the RPO, and then he can throw the ball well.
And I think that's the interesting part of this, right? And I don't think people necessarily realize this. Talk about, for you and the defense as a whole, much more difficult it is to give the attention to those wide receivers that you want to give them, like you did with Cincinnati last week, but at the same time having a team that's able to have a dynamic run game. So maybe you want an extra body in the box at the same time, and you can't really do both of those.
That's the thing. It's a matchup league, and offenses like this pose a tough challenge for you because it's a little bit of a three-headed monster. They got the quarterback run game. They have the regular run game with the talented offensive line and different pull schemes and gap schemes. And then they got some receivers who are very talented. So we got to be on our P's and Q's, and we'll execute on Sunday. And
then finally, you guys are 2-4. You're 0-2 in the NFC East.
Yep.
So obviously the importance of this game, and this, not that you need any more importance against a team like the Eagles. They're your rival. They're just down the turnpike. You guys want to beat them anyway.
Yeah.
But when you guys talk and just the feel in the locker room, is there an understanding of exactly how critical this game is to walk away with a win, given the larger picture of where the season is at the current time?
Yeah, it's a huge game. Obviously, we're not looking too far ahead. This is the next game. This is a division opponent, so it counts twice. There's a lot of reasons to be motivated for this game. So we'll be ready, get on our 48-hour preparation starting now, and get ready for a hell of a game on Sunday.
And how desperate are you to get a win at home here?
Very desperate. We want to win bad for our fans, for the organization, bring pride to everybody, get back on the right track.
Can't wait to see it. Bobby, good stuff, my man. Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
You're ready for a change. Payday comes early with Citizens, so go to that retreat. New you moves to the country. Now you're raising goats and launching a lifestyle brand. Are you ready for all that life brings?
Are you a morning person? Or when you roll out of bed, do you literally roll out of bed? Listen, mornings can be hard to handle. From the moment you open your eyes, your responsibilities and to-dos start piling up in your head. But you know what helps? Yep, a shower. But not just any shower, a shower with Irish Spring. Yeah, as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better.
Oh, yeah.
All those to-dos are totally doable. Because that crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from that glorious shower, 37 minutes later, because let's be honest, you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want. You're ready to take on the day. And smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Look for Irish Spring in the soap aisle at Walmart.
That's Bobby Okereke. The Giants Huddle podcast is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From game day celebrations to your everyday financial needs, Big Blue fans can get the most out of every moment with Citizens. Learn more at citizensbank.com/Giants. Now let's turn to the opponent. We'll look inside the Philadelphia Eagles with Dave Spadaro. And now we welcome in Dave Spadaro. He covers the Eagles for the team's official site. Friend of the program, been with us many times over the years. Dave, let's start real basically here. What am I to make of this Eagles team? I've watched a lot of your games, and I can't quite figure out what you guys are on either side of the ball at this point. What do you think this team is?
I don't know either. I think this is a team still finding itself. When you have two new coordinators, it does take some time to assimilate the scheme and fit that scheme with your players. And so they have been a very inconsistent 3-2 football team. The offense looked really good after a slow start when the team opened up in Brazil against the Packers. And then A.J. Brown missed the next 3 games, and the offense really sagged. Devontae Smith missing a game in there as well. So they have been inconsistent offensively, and defensively, it's been really up and down. They were dominant against the New Orleans Saints, and then the next week they were down, 2 touchdowns by the middle of the first quarter, and so 24-0 shortly thereafter. So this is a team that has not yet hit its stride, one that has very high expectations, but has not found that consistency to date. So I think your read, John, is pretty much a spot on. It's kind of what the Eagles feel, at this point. It's very hard to get a feel for what this team actually is.
All right, let's go through some of these injuries just so fans understand. We're recording this on Thursday morning, so there might be more news after this gets recorded. Let's start here. Which guys are you pretty sure are not playing in this game, Dave?
I would tell you that it's very Jordan Mailata, left tackle, will not play in this game. He's out with a hamstring injury. Dallas Goedert, tight end, I would think would be a tough play. He has not practiced this week to date, hamstring injury. And that's really it, I think, at this point. I think the Eagles are, and Milton Williams, defensive tackles, missed practice, but he's missed practice in previous weeks too and been able to play. So I think otherwise Darius Slay left the game on Sunday against the Browns, came back to practice on Wednesday, so he should be okay. So really the injuries are on the offensive side of the ball, and they are concerning injuries.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about the offensive line, because I don't feel like, obviously, you lose Jason Kelce in the middle, it's going to impact the line. But I feel like a guy like Landon Dickerson hasn't played as well, and now, Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, who both when they play have been fantastic, you're not going to have Mailata in this game. So give me your general take on this offensive line and how they're going to try to handle their business without Mailata out at left tackle.
Yeah, I think Fred Johnson, who's filled in at right tackle and left tackle when Lane Johnson went out against New Orleans, when Jordan went out last week against Cleveland, he has played very well, so he'll likely be the left tackle. And I'm not sure if I agree that the Eagles' offensive line has not played as well. I think they've run the ball well for much of the season with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, good
I think the offense has really stagnated in the passing game, and they really haven't been able to. And the first quarter offense has been non-existent. They haven't scored a point in the first quarter of 5 games, and with, I think, 10 possessions and 9 first downs. So but the offensive line, you lose Kelce. Cam Jurgens is somebody the Eagles are really high on. He's a younger version of Kelce, extremely athletic. Get him out to the second level. They're still opening up really good holes in the run game. The quarterback's run game has not been as effective. I think teams are coming in scheming to stop Jalen Hurts from running the football and daring him to win from the pocket. And he has been inconsistent in his performance. So, yeah, I mean, the offensive line certainly shares in that, but I'm not sure that would be the central area of focus for me. Dickerson, Lane, Mekhi Becton has been a nice addition at right guard. And then Mailata had played very well until he had the hamstring injury.
When you take a look at Hurts, teams in the past, especially last year, blitzed him a lot, and he had a lot of trouble handling the blitz. Has Kellen Moore fixed some of those issues in terms of dealing with opponents' blitzes against your offense?
Yes, he's been better against the blitz, and the Eagles were very, very aware of that, and they've worked hard on that with him. So last year, blitz percentage was 34%. This year, it's right around there, 33.7%. His passing yards have gone up a full yard from 6.9 passing yards per attempt to 7.9. He had 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions against the blitz last year, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception against the blitz this year. His passer rating has gone from 75.3 to 106.8 versus the blitz. So numbers-wise, he's done a better job against the blitz. I'm not sure Tampa Bay blitzes because that's just what they do.
Yeah.
But a lot of teams really haven't blitzed him. And we didn't see a lot of it last week against Cleveland. I don't think they anticipate a lot of it on Sunday against the Giants with a new defensive coordinator there. You guys, the Giants have been getting home with 4 and lead the league in quarterback sacks. So it's really paramount. But yeah, I think the teams have been able to keep Jalen in the pocket and force him to win with his arm. And, he's just not been as effective as he has been in the past.
Final one on the offense. I've struggled to try to come up with a new question about your skill position guys because they're so good, and Giant fans know they're awesome. I don't want to just ask you, why are these guys so great? So how about this? Has Kellen Moore utilized those guys? And I realize A.J. Brown's only played for 2 games, so it might be tough for you to tell. But how is Kellen Moore utilizing Saquon, Brown, Smith in a way that maybe is a little bit unique to get the most out of them?
Yeah, not evident to date. And a lot of that is AJ's injury, but there's been nothing particularly unusual or signature Kellen Moore wise to date, other than the way that the team performed in Brazil. And against the Packers, they had 2 early turnovers, and then they turned it on and had 410 yards of offense and 34 points and moved the ball up and down the field, and it looked really good. Where the Eagles haven't gotten production is when AJ is off the field. Jahan Dotson hasn't been as productive. When Goddard has been off the field. Grant Calcaterra last week was productive, but until then, not as productive. So they really haven't gotten it in volume from players beyond AJ, Devontae, and Dallas Goedert in the pass game. Saquon has been used early on a lot and was really, really effective. Then when they lost in Tampa Bay, the Eagles fell behind early. He only got 10 touches. Fans were going, why aren't you giving the ball to Saquon Barkley? Last week, it was really obvious that Jim Schwartz and Cleveland schemed to stop the run, and they did an excellent job against Saquon Barkley, who's looked terrific. He had the drop against Atlanta, but as you know, total professional, very, 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 very good football player. No complaints about Saquon Barkley at all. He has added a lot of dynamic running ability, and in that game against Green Bay, pass catching ability to this offense.
I just want to follow up on the receivers, because I think one thing watching that's kind of surprised me, Dave, is that I thought maybe there'd be a larger change in how the passing game is structured with route combinations and stuff with Kellen Moore. It kind of looks the same to me. You're closer to it than I am.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think that's a question a lot of people are asking about this offense. So maybe it's being integrated very slowly into it. Maybe they're finding out that some of the things that they want to do aren't really compatible with the talent that they have. I don't know, but we are waiting to see the signature of Kellen Moore on this offense. And to date, I think it's only been very little of a difference between what we see now and what we've seen in past years.
Yeah, and again, I think until you get A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith together for multiple games, you might not see that, and that's going to start coming now. All right, defensively, Dave, up front, doesn't look like as dominant of a group as we've seen traditionally from Philadelphia. The joke I've been making, I feel like Jalen Carter's a guy that you got to wind up a little bit before the game, and if you wind him up, he's good, but sometimes he plays and he doesn't seem to be wound up. So how has this defensive front kind of come together with a bunch of new faces, including Bryce Huff, who, if you look at some of the advanced metrics, has not been very productive?
Yeah, fair. I mean, Jalen Carter had the dominant game against New Orleans, otherwise has been fairly ordinary. I mean, waiting for him to be a consistently dominant defensive tackle. Bryce Huff, edge player, successful with the Jets, really great get-off, has registered a half a quarterback sack last week, so showed some improvement. The Eagles haven't gotten to the quarterback as much as they'd like. Vic Fangio generally doesn't want to have to blitz. He dialed it up a bit last week against Cleveland, and Cleveland's a really difficult case study because their offense is so bad and Deshaun Watson is so inaccurate. And so, yeah, the defensive line has not performed to past standards. I think that's fair to say, both against the run and the pass.
And how about the secondary? You got a weird mix of rookies and then veteran guys that have been around for a long time. How have they mixed this kind of group of talent together in terms of structuring Fangio's back end, which obviously he's trying to play a lot of zone and keep things in front of him?
Played a lot more man last week against Cleveland.
I saw that.
A bit of a different look from the defense, finding out what your personnel can do. 2 very promising, impressive rookies in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Darius Slay still playing good football. The safeties, Reed Blankenship's had a couple of late game interceptions. C.J. Gardner-Johnson has been a bit inconsistent with his tackling. I mean, I think the thing that's been all through all 3 levels, really missed tackles have been a worry point for Vic and for the defense. So I think Sunday really is a great test against a Giants offense that when it is whole Malik Neighbors is the guy that everybody's kind of talking about, is a much better gauge for where this defense is. It's hard to tell when you play Cleveland because that offense is so out of sorts, and teams put up really good numbers against the Cleveland Browns. I mean, that's just the way their offense has performed. So I would say it's an emerging secondary with two young rookies. They are the present, they are the future, and they have shown that the moment is not too large for them to date.
All right, final question. If there's one either matchup or aspect of the Eagles that you think could really give them an advantage in this game, and then on the other side, what's one thing you're really worried about heading into this game against the Giants that you think could determine victory or defeat?
I think that the worrisome part, or I really think that Daniel Jones and the way that the Giants use his mobility and the way the Eagles have not really faced that kind of quarterback this year. So let's see how Vic schemes against the run game of Daniel Jones. That is, look, quarterback draws. I mean, the Eagles have it in the idea they have an answer for it. Will they be able to provide that answer on Sunday? I think that's one of the things I'm really looking at, because if you can contain Daniel Jones and the run game and his explosiveness in the run game, and I know the running backs have performed well, but Daniel's always had success running against the Eagles, and when they've been able to slow him down, they've been able to get after him a little bit. So that's the one thing. I think from an advantage standpoint, I mean, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are just dominant wide receivers, and to me, I think everybody's focus is going to be on Saquon and the return to MetLife Stadium, and absolutely a storyline. But from the football standpoint, how can the Eagles get explosive plays out of their wide receivers against the Giants secondary? So I think when you have AJ and Devontae, you always have an advantage.
Dave, you're the best, man. Thanks so much. I'll see you on Sunday.
Thanks, John.
You love turf. You're good at it. So you start a turf biz. Business grows, your savings grow. Become the most celebrated name in turf. Are you ready for all that life brings?
Are you a morning person? Or when you roll out of bed, do you literally roll out of bed? Listen, mornings can be hard to handle. From the moment you open your eyes, your responsibilities and to-dos start piling up in your head. But you know what helps? Yep, a shower. But not just any shower, a shower with Irish Spring. Yeah, as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better.
Oh, yeah.
All those to-dos are totally doable. Because that crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from that glorious shower, 37 minutes later, because let's be honest, you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want. You're ready to take on the day. And smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Look for Irish Spring in the soap aisle at Walmart.
Great job out of Dave Spadaro. The Giants Huddle podcast is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. Citizens will donate $750 to the Giants Foundation for each scoring drive during the 2024 season. Learn more at citizensbank.com/Giants. Now let's turn to the voice of the NYG, Bob Papa, with the head coach of the NYG, Brian Daboll.
As always, we're joined by the head coach of the New York Giants, Brian Daboll. This afternoon, it's the Giants and Eagles at MetLife Stadium. And, Coach, obviously, division game, home game, has extra meaning to it. You guys were able to beat them at the end of the last season when they were trying to win because of the way their season was going. Is there any carryover, or, with it being so long ago and with the teams changing as much as they have, that there's no such thing as that kind of momentum in the NFL?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything like that. New year, new team. This is an important game for us. As you said, it's a division game against Philadelphia Eagles. They have a new team, some new pieces, and the most important thing is going out there and playing well.
So let's cut to the chase here, right? They've been struggling a little bit, and then they get Devontae Smith back, and they get A.J. Brown back, and they wind up making big plays last week en route to beating the Cleveland Browns. When you look at these two guys, obviously they're super talented. What makes them special in a lot of ways from a football standpoint, IQ-wise?
Well, I can speak on Devontae. I was with him at Alabama. He's he's got all the tools you need to be an elite receiver. He's very instinctive. He has good hands. He's a crafty route runner. You make contested catches, and he can run with the ball in his hands. And knowing AJ for a while, he's strong. He's hard to cover. When he's covered, he still makes contested catches. I don't think it's any secret why you get big plays when you get two guys like that back. And Jalen puts the ball where he needs to put the ball to give those guys opportunity. So definitely a challenge, particularly outside the numbers and vertical. Smitty does some good catch and run stuff, as A.J. Brown does. Two of the better receivers in the league.
I guess that is the league now, right, Coach? Because we had the same conversation leading into the Seattle game. And we had the same conversation leading into the Bengals game. We have the same conversation this week with Philadelphia. The game has really evolved in a lot of ways, hasn't it, since you first came in the league 25 years ago?
Yeah. These receivers that are coming out of college, they're adapting probably a lot quicker than they did 20 years ago. But again, everybody's bigger, stronger, faster, and it seems like every team has at least one, if not two, elite players on the perimeter. And I think that's what you need nowadays in the National Football League to put stress on defenses.
Obviously, it's the return of Saquon Barkley, and you and he worked together for the last couple of years. You think it'll be weird seeing him in the uniform just during warm-ups or whatever? I know it doesn't factor into anything in the game. The game is the game, and he's a talented player. But is there any kind of weirdness that you expect just to see him in Eagles green?
Yeah, like you said, 25 years has been a long time, and you see pretty much everything you can see in the National Football League. I've said this before, got a tremendous amount of respect for Saquon and the things that he did for me when he was here. And, it'll be important that we play well. That's the most important thing. And he's a hard person to defend. If you give him a crease, he can go the distance. We're going to have to tackle him well and cover him well. He's a very talented player.
Defensively, Coach, with the young guys in the secondary, things coming along nicely with the group. And then, guys that have been here even predating you, a guy like Azeez Ojulari stepped up last week in the absence of Kayvon Thibodeau. Can you just talk about the way your defense is starting to really come into form as far as with a new coordinator, understanding exactly what's being asked of them and then them executing it at a nice high level?
Yeah, each week there's been improvement. I think Jerome Henderson has done a really good job with these young defensive backs. They meet constantly, early, late. He's out there on a practice field, giving them the details, and give those guys credit for putting the work in. And Shane obviously is our leader on the defensive side of football. He's a very good teacher. He's demanding. He's fair. And I think he's done a good job of bringing everybody together, coaches, players alike. And again, 1 week, has nothing to do with the next week, but you're seeing improvement each and every day.
Coach, obviously you got some tough news earlier in the week when it was announced that Andrew Thomas would need surgery, which he had, earlier in the week, and he's lost for the year. I know it's a next man up league, and everybody's got to step up, and it is that next man up. But from a team standpoint, when you lose one of your captains and one of your best football players, what kind of adjustments do you have to make with the team? Forget about the physical part, with the psychological part of the group, knowing that you don't have him for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think all the players and the coaches understand that those things happen in this league, and they're unfortunate, and we feel terrible for Andrew. Everybody wishes him well and stays in contact with him, but you really have to move on, and that's the nature of the business we're in. So we have to make sure that we're getting our other players ready to go. Andrew is, he's a great player. He's a great leader. Unfortunately, we don't have him, and it is the next man up mentality. Everybody's got to be ready to go out there and perform at a high level.
Do you think sometimes fans and even us in the media underestimate the ego? And I mean this in a good way, but all these guys are in the NFL for a reason, and they all have unbelievable confidence in themselves that they can play, and that competitive spirit, leads to Cinderella stories, leads to these stories of, this is the 100 years of Giants football, Victor Cruz being undrafted and becoming a star. You're around them. You've been around them a long time. Guys have a lot of confidence when maybe everybody else in the outside world doesn't think that somebody's going to be able to step up and perform.
Yeah, I think they all want to be excellent in their craft, and that's why they put so much work into it. Inside the building, in the meeting rooms, on the practice field, in the off season, everybody wants to go out there and do as well as they can do, and they put everything they got into it. And there's different talent levels, no question about that. But the mindset, the discipline, the attitude, the will, the grit that these players have, I think it's important to each and every one of them. So when they get their opportunity, they want to make the most of it, and we want to help them make the most of it.
Coach, obviously the run game is something that is very important for you guys. Devin Singletary's been back practicing. Tyrone Tracy's done a nice job for you. Talk a little bit about how important it is to run the ball against this Philadelphia team to sort of stay on schedule.
Yeah, I think, the most important thing for us, Bob, is to execute well on early downs, regardless if it's a run or a pass. The run game can control clock, but you need to gain yards with it as well. You can intermediate pass it, short pass it, but, coming off on the ball, letting the line, go forward, and the running back gain yards, positive yards. But, again, you run the ball a bunch, and it's 2nd and 10, or it's, 2nd and 8, and you run it, and it's 3rd and 8. It's got to be a productive running game, whether it's downhill, outside, quarterback runs. It's important. It's an important part of the offense, but so is the pass game.
Yeah, speaking of the pass game, and wrapping it up here, Malik Neighbors obviously got back to work this week, and the red jersey came off in practice. What about getting him back up to speed after missing the time? Does he look like he hasn't missed a step so far?
Yeah, I think anytime you have a little bit of a layoff, you have to make sure your conditioning is right because you're not out there practicing every day. But the 2 practices that he's been part of, he's been, I'd say, productive and in shape, ready to go. It's good to have him back.
Coach, we appreciate a couple minutes. Good luck against Philadelphia, and we'll do it again next week.
Thanks, Bob.
Great job from all of our guests today. We thank them for joining us on the Giants Huddle podcast. Bob, Coach Daboll, Dave Spadaro, and Bobby Okereke. I'm John Schmeelk. Stay tuned to the Giants Huddle podcast for continuing coverage of the Giants. Thanks for being with us. It was all brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. We'll see you next time, everybody.